As always, this week's preview show is brought to you by Miss Amber Perry with Rodan and Fields.
All right, we are live at Sparks Orthopedic and Sports Medicine again in Rainbow City with Dr. D. Eric Sparks, who's been absolutely crushing it. We've heard positive feedback. Actually, at the Gadsden City game, I don't know if you remember this, Dr. Sparks, but when Kevin Young and Todd Lambert walked up to you, the first thing they started talking about was your segment on here, if you remember that.
I do, absolutely, absolutely.
I think they're not alone. There's a lot of people that we've talked to that's been watching your segment, and actually a lot of players who's had those injuries has kind of caught on and watched, and then watched the other segments just for preventative measures, or pick up little tidbits that could help them. But today we're going to talk about something that we've actually had 5 different players this season already have this happen to them, and that's separated shoulders and also shoulder dislocations. And we're going to find out the difference between the two and some things to do once they happen, and maybe some things to do to help prevent those from happening. So I'm going to turn the floor over at this moment to Dr. Sparks and let me get educated like I have been these last few weeks.
So shoulder dislocation. So at the shoulder itself, there are really 2 joints, okay? So when we talk about shoulder dislocations, we're talking about the ball and socket joint, the glenohumeral joint. And then when we talk about shoulder separations, we're talking about the AC joint or the acromioclavicular joint. So there's 2 joints there, and both can be affected. Shoulder dislocations, probably in the United States in a year, basically the rough estimate is somewhere between 80 and 100,000 shoulder dislocations in a year. So we're not talking about anywhere near the number of injuries to the shoulder as we were when we talk about ACLs and some of the other things that we've talked about. But it's the most common dislocation in the body is a shoulder dislocation, okay? So as far as, and when we talk about a dislocation, we're talking about a joint that is kind of facing each other like it should be, but it comes out. And now it's not, the 2 parts of the joint aren't associated with each other anymore, okay? At
that point, is it only tendons that's holding it there?
It's so
and muscles
you've
attached.
torn through some of the ligaments that try to help the joint stay together. Those have been stretched or torn.
Okay.
And what's holding it together mainly is the muscles and the tendons at that point. That's right, because they're not torn in 2.
Okay.
When we talk about shoulder dislocations, they're typically going to slide the ball and socket as a ball in a really flat socket, and the shoulder is typically going to slide out the front. So anterior or out the front dislocations represent 90 and 95% of dislocations. So almost all of them come out the front.
Okay.
That typically happens in a position where your arm is away from your body and then externally rotated. So we see somebody's arm out to the side and a player hits it in football or basketball, and that shoulder wants to slide out the front, okay? It's traumatic. It causes injury to, like we said, those ligaments. And then there's a structure in the shoulder called the labrum, which is like a little O-ring in the shoulder, helps hold everything together, and that oftentimes is torn. Typically for shoulder dislocations, we're talking about, or we're in football season right now, so most of the time with in-season athletes, we're trying to rehab those individuals. We're trying to brace them. There's actually a brace called a Sawa brace, or there's a softer version called a Sully brace, which can help prevent some of the motion of the shoulder. You give up motion and gain some stability. So we try to take people, we try to rehab them up, get their pain under control, brace them, and see if we can't play them through the year.
So that brace, they can actually play with that brace on. Oh,
yes.
wow. Okay.
So it limits, if you're a wide receiver, it's much more difficult than if you're an offensive tackle, right? Because we're going to give up some range of motion of the shoulder to achieve some stability. So.
Okay, and one thing that I picked out of there, and I've heard this more common definitely than even shoulder separations, is torn labrums.
Yes.
I hear that phrase
Yeah.
constantly. And actually, have a friend of mine who did that recently and had surgery and had to rehab back. And the rehab portion of it, he said, was very painful. So when we're looking at, is there a way that you can separate your shoulder or dislocate your shoulder and your labrum not be affected, or is that almost guaranteed going to happen?
There is a way. So
Okay.
it can happen. That labrum is a soft tissue structure and it has some flexibility.
Okay,
so
okay.
depending on how traumatic that dislocation is going to decide whether that labrum is torn. Now, the issue with the labrum and why it's such an important structure, first of all, it's helping provide stability to the shoulder. But also what you see is if the labrum is torn, then your risk of recurrence, your risk of redislocating the shoulder, becoming somebody who dislocates a lot, is much, much higher. So in general, even though we might take an athlete who dislocates their shoulder and we might rehab them up and get them through the season, we're going to MRI that. We're going to see if they have a labral tear, and we're going to make a recommendation. If they do, typically we're going to make a recommendation to repair that shoulder at the end of the season.
Okay. So, and something I'm taking from that is just from sports injuries that I know, teammates of mine. I had a guy who, quote unquote, his shoulder would pop out constantly.
Correct.
And he would just pop it back in on the sidelines. We had a kid who was at this very building 2 weeks ago who dislocated his shoulder, I think for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. And his brother was on the sidelines and popped it back in, and he went back out in the field. Didn't tell a coach one. And then wakes up the next day and his shoulder is almost immovable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Correct.
So again, the thing I like about these segments is I come in with the redneck, this is what my cousin did, and then we relay that to you, and then you're saying, okay, yeah, no.
That's not what we need to do.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's one of these cases.
So it's good that he got it back in the joint, because that's something for us. That's a medical urgency for orthopedics. Is we want to put that ball back in the socket, and we try to do it on the field if we can.
Okay.
Sometimes players who are bigger or have a lot of muscle spasm, they're going to require some sedation to get it back into the joint. Okay, but we want to get it back into the joint. And you're right, what happened in his case is he had a bunch of adrenaline probably going, he gets it back in the joint, he makes it through the rest of the game. But then all the swelling and all the other things that go along with the injury set in, and he woke up the next day, he just could not move that thing.
Could there be damage, permanent damage, moving forward if you do not get that back in place in time, like from a nerve ending?
There is
ligament.
It is, yeah. So it's stretching the tissue around it, right?
Okay.
And the cartilage that's on the end of the bone is not happy because it's not facing other cartilage. It's getting beat up. So there's several reasons why we want to get it back in the joint, but we try to do that as quickly as we can, whether that's on the field, whether that's in the locker room. And then if we can't get it in those situations, then it's at the hospital with some sedation.
So it's similar to the situation where, just like you said with the ankle sprain, you want to put the weight on it immediately, get weight back on it so it starts realizing, it's what it needs to be doing. And in this case, it needs to be back in place so it can start I guess you'd say, healing process and letting it, okay, good.
That's correct.
Buddy, I know you got some questions. Football is the number one sport for this, I'm sure.
So it is actually, so when we're talking about shoulder dislocations, football is very high on the list.
Okay.
It is. Now, when we're talking about AC separations, we're actually looking at more sports like cycling. Okay, so because we're coming over the handlebars and we're landing on the shoulder. So a shoulder separation is a different entity. A shoulder separation is usually happening from a direct force.
Right.
Okay, so it's pressure down on your shoulder on the acromion. The collarbone doesn't have any pressure on it, and the AC joint is just coming together like this, and then you get pressure down on the acromion, and it pushes that collarbone up, and it injures that joint.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's a little different in that there's not a lot of motion at that AC joint, and it's much more of just a direct blow. So in football, we see it when we give that direct blow and we hit somebody with our shoulder, we lower that shoulder and boom, that's where we see it.
So when they separate a shoulder and nothing's torn, y'all get it back in place. Usually how long does it take to rehab it back before they can get that brace on and get back on the field? Is it
So shoulder separations come in about 6 different varieties if you classify them all. But to make it just simple, just a grade 1 is going to be a sprain to only one set of the ligaments at that AC joint. And those people are going to be able to come back as quickly as their pain level will allow them. Okay, so in our high school athletes, we're going to treat them anti-inflammatories, we're going to ice them, we're going to try to pad underneath their pads to take some of the pressure off. But when they hit again, they're going to have to be able to tolerate that.
right? Some can go back as if they see you on Saturday or Monday, they could possibly play on Friday.
That is
depending on
correct, if
severity.
they can
Okay.
tolerate that. Now, our collegiate level athletes who are a little bit older, we do some injections in those AC joints of lidocaine, something that's a numbing medicine to try to get them, when they have a grade 1, something simple to get them where they can play. In high school athletes, sometimes logistically it's harder to do that because we need consent to do that from parents and things like that. So, but that's kind of how we treat those grade 1s. When you start getting grade 2 and grade 3, basically that collarbone is starting to come out of the joint a little bit. And so those are going to take a longer period of rehab. They're going to take a longer period of recovery. But, most of the ones we're seeing are grade 1s in the world of football. Most of the ones we're seeing.
Well, because too, they're protected with all their shoulder
They have
pads too,
pads
right?
and all
So,
those
yeah.
things. That's right.
Okay, so all right, let's recap before we shut this one down. If this type of injury occurs, the number one thing is to get it put back in place as soon as possible.
We're talking about shoulder dislocation. That's our first priority. We
First
need to
priority.
get it back into place, and then we can start everything else.
Please tell your coach and team doctor, don't let your cousin do it.
Don't let your cousin do it, guys.
Or your
Listen to
brother.
this, or your brother.
Yeah.
Let's have somebody that's a professional do it.
Yeah. I don't think he took his pads off. I think he just
Just popped it right.
something
Those pads
like
and all.
that. Yeah. The next thing is, if gone untreated for a certain amount of time, this could become more serious the time that you do not get it taken care of. So you want to get it taken. You don't. This ain't one of these things. Let me sleep on it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow or something.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then finally, there's different variations of it, just like the ankle. So it could be 2 totally different things. So it's probably good in your recommendation to get it X-rayed regardless. Do you think, or not?
So in general, we're going to X-ray this injury for
Okay.
sure. On the shoulder dislocation side, we're going to make sure that the ball is in the joint where it should be. On the AC joint side, we're going to make sure that the collarbone is level, that it's not kicked way up, and so X-ray is going to be used to follow both of those injuries.
Have you? I'll tell you this. I know we're going a little long here, but have you had someone in here with a dislocation or separation and actually seen a broken bone at any point, like a collarbone or something?
So there can be associated injuries. We see it probably on the shoulder dislocation side.
Right.
Sometimes you'll have the socket will have a little fracture to it.
Stress fracture sort or something?
Well, it's a little bony injury when the labrum tears.
Okay.
It breaks off a little bone too.
I got you.
There, and then on the AC joint side, the AC separation side, there can be fractures of the collarbone.
So
that go
that's
along
another
with it.
good reason to get it X-rayed and not let your brother do it, and not tell a team doctor and keep playing. And then wake up the next day.
Can't move.
All right, so we're not going to call any names. I'm not even going to say what team he plays for, but we'll talk about it off the camera. But anyways, this has been very educational. Again, it's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that goes into this, and it could happen in a lot of different angles and a lot of different, grades of it again. So that's something that we definitely I didn't know that. I had no idea about that. I don't know if you did, Buddy. Buddy actually went over his handlebars recently, so
Sure did. Came here. You guys fixed me up.
Poster child for shoulder separation. Poster child.
Okay. All right.
Glad to help.
Buddy went into the study head first, literally.
That's why I fell off the bicycle.
Because we knew we was going to do this in the future. All right, so we're going to shut this one down. Again, as always, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for allowing us to come here and do this. And especially thank you for coming on with us and doing these episodes. They've been fantastic.
Yes.
Well, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. Thank
See
you.
y'all next week.
All right, our next game, we are lucky enough to have Coach Shay Monroe in from the Ashville Bulldogs, a.k.a. the Fighting Shay Monroes.
I like it.
I'm digging it. We could go with the Fighting Shays. We don't know yet. We're still teetering with that. We're going to put it all together and present it to you guys once we finish tweaking out all the bugs. But, Coach, I was actually at this game last Friday. You guys played Etowah. It was a tough 24-0 loss, but on the positive side of things, anytime you have like 4 punts blocked, that's a big, huge negative. Those games usually spiral over into the 40s and 50s to nothing. But your defense played lights out. Your offense started out moving the ball pretty good up and down the field. The way that game started, it looked like it was fixing to be a dog fight all night long, and it pretty much was from a physical standpoint. Just take us back to last Friday and what happened and what you've seen since you went back and watched film as well.
Well, I thought the effort our kids had was tremendous, and their focus was really good all week. And we knew we had our hands full. Etowah's got a good team, and well-coached football team, and we knew that we couldn't let them get the big play on us. Fortunately, defensively we were able to limit the big plays. However, they made several big plays in the kicking game, which is an area not a lot of people talk about. Just your average fan, but as coaches, we spend a lot of time in the kicking game, and apparently we didn't coach it hard enough last week, so we're back to the drawing board on that.
It seemed to be a snapping issue. The young man had trouble getting the ball back there, but I'm gonna tell you something. What I seen in that game was the guys didn't back down. They fought to the whistle, both halves. And I was really, from a physical standpoint, I'm friends with a lot of Etowah guys. They were beat up pretty good. They knew they were in a serious football game. Those kind of things, when you're building a program like you are, those are positives you can build on, in my opinion. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I think, before we learn to win in Asheville, we got to learn to play hard. And I thought we took another step towards that this past week against Etowah. We can't rest on our laurels. We got a big county rival game this week with St. Clair County. But, I thought last week was a good test for us, and the kids played really hard.
You talked about St. Clair County coming up next week. Talk about how big of a game that is for not just for the program, but for the Asheville or the cities, I should say.
Well, it's kind of weird because we have not played Odenville. That's what we refer to them as Asheville, is Odenville, but we have not played them in varsity football since 2009.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of been a rivalry that's kind of, just they haven't played each other in the last, 10, 11 years. When you watch film, they got some good players. Their coaches do a really good job putting their kids in position to make plays. Just for whatever reason, they haven't been able to squeak one out. They've played, like us, they played a tough schedule. And it's going to be a dogfight. If we don't come to play, they're going to beat us.
They played Alexandria, and like you said, they played Alexandria really tough. One thing I've noticed about you guys, your schedule seemed to be really top-heavy. You've played Aniana, Good Hope, and Etowah already. And as your schedule is rolling on, you're like, hey, can I take a breath for a minute? Jesus. Because you're talking about Aniana, you're talking about a perennial regional champ, powerhouse, who's still got great players and great coaching. And then you got Etowah, D1 players everywhere. And I dare to say, out of that bunch, Good Hope may be the most complete team of all of
They
them.
seem like they're the team to beat right now in that region. And looking at the schedule, you got Dora. Dora was a 5A school, and
Have you ever heard their fans barking?
Oh yeah.
Have you heard that before, Coach?
No, I haven't.
You're
We go to them this year.
You're gonna
so I'm
get a
sure I'll
little.
hear it.
You're gonna get a little bit of that medicine.
Oh yeah. You should tell your fans to bark back.
Oh Lord, I don't know about that.
What you need to do is say thank you because y'all are Bulldogs too.
That's right.
Appreciate
yeah.
it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way to welcome.
Yeah, the schedule doesn't get any easier. You know, everybody in this region is pretty competitive. You know, there's been some upsets in the region. You know, I mean, everybody's pretty competitive, and that's the thing is, you know, it was we went through a rough 3-game stretch. You know, but the biggest thing we got to take away from that is, you know, okay, those games are behind us. We got to play the next one, and our focus this week needs to be on nothing but St. Clair County.
St. Clair County. Yeah, that's the best way to be at this point. You know, as coaches, you got to try to. I know it's hard trying to keep your kids focused on the next game up and not looking ahead to, you know, later on down the schedule.
One thing I want to talk about moving into this game. What are the key things that you're looking for from your guys, your team in general? What is a couple of things you're like, hey, this is what we're going to do. I've seen this, and we're going to have to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down, and I'm just so cliche, but you know, these are the things we preach on week to week. Number one, they got to believe. They got to believe in each other. They got to believe in the plan that's ahead of them. You know, they got to trust in it. The second thing is, you know, offensively, it just comes down to execution. We've got to execute. We've got to, you know, finish drives. Defensively, it's consistency. You know, can you play as good this week as you played last week, or can you play better? You know, because that's what we're looking for is to get better. We don't want to take a step back for sure. Kicking game, obviously, the big issue is, hey, can you just not make silly mistakes? And can you, you know, and it's, you know, there's a common theme in a lot of games, but one thing we haven't really done a good job of the last 3 or 4 weeks is we haven't won field position. You know, Etowah's touchdowns the other night came off those block punts. I mean, every time they scored, they had a short field. You know, so we, you know, I preach to our kids and our defensive coordinator, Coach James Thompson, and their staff over there on the defensive side of the ball do a really good job. But this is what we preach. Hey, don't give up the big play. Tackle them, make them snap it again. Because most high school offenses are not good enough to consistently go on 15, 16, 17 play drives and beat you that way.
Good point. Really good point. Reg, you got anything else?
I think I'm good, man. Good luck to you guys.
When they start barking at you at Dora, you're going to say, hey, guys,
Hey,
appreciate you. I've never seen this much love. Thank you.
Hey, we're not there yet, though. We got St. Clair County.
Yeah. Good point. Call me out. Call me out. I'm not looking forward. Call me out. Coach me, Coach. Coach me, Coach. All right, we're going to shut this one down. As always, man, we appreciate you coming on with this lovely helmet, this lovely jersey here.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, this is some of the best stuff ever. And I'm glad Tara's not here so we can actually display it.
Yeah, I know.
Without her walking around like a hearse. Putting it on for the cities. Hammer down. Let's get this done, baby.
All right, guys, we're on to our next team, the Centerpoint Eagles. We got Coach Brandon Wilcox on the phone with us on the Jarvis Rawls Ronnie Watkins Ford hotline. Coach Wilcox, welcome on, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good, pretty good. You guys are coming off what was the score last week? I'm sorry.
56-14.
56-14 win over the Moody Blue Devils, man. Sounds like y'all had a great night offensively. I think y'all had, over 400 yards rushing for the whole entire game?
Yeah, I think we ended up with 479 on the ground. And, defense hadn't got enough credit, but I think we held them to 56 yards rushing on the night. So
Wow.
anytime you can outgain somebody over 400 yards on the ground, you got a good chance of winning.
Definitely, man. Talk about Troy Bruce. He started the season out at quarterback, and now he's your primary running back.
Yeah, Troy's moved over to running back. And he's had two big games back to back where he's run over 200 both games. So he's doing a good job there. But really, to me, is our offensive line. And Coach Ron Blind is doing a phenomenal job with those guys. Each week we've kind of shuffled them around a little bit, do some different things, but we found a way to get people moved. And it's a group that keeps getting better every week. As long as they're doing that, I think Troy had I don't know, 4 or 5 touchdowns, or 3 touchdowns last week, and then our backup running back, Eatman had 4 touchdowns last week, and he ran for, I want to say, 170 yards or so. So, both those guys did a good job taking care of the football and running. But, again, our offensive line probably played their best game this year.
Yeah, we were going to talk. I was going to ask you about the offensive line because that's kind of been our theme so far tonight. We've had some offensive linemen on because without those guys, these running backs and quarterbacks are not able to get the yards that they get without those guys. And like you said, they don't get enough credit. So hats off to your offensive line. I think Bo's got a question for you.
Coach, I got 2 things to throw at you real fast. First thing, talk about the black jerseys. Where did that come from? Them things was on point.
Yeah, we have a contract with Future Ones, and they do a great job of outfitting our players and our staff. But that was a big deal. Coach Bates, it was a blackout for justice game, and one thing Coach Bates talks about, he says, is justice for everyone. So it's kind of one of the things that he likes to do is make sure our kids are understanding that what we're doing is bigger than football, and it's also about getting understanding what their role is in society. And so it was a good opportunity for our kids to play a part in that. And they look pretty sharp on them too now. Yeah,
they look really good. We actually seen them on Fox on the sideline and on TV, and was like, man, those look nice. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about was I was actually in Anniston today with Coach Rico White and was talking to him, and really good guy. He had a lot of high praise for you guys. And talk about the road trip to Anniston and what come into making that game happen.
Well, it's obviously a big game for us. They even though it's a non-region game, I know a good bit about Anniston, and they've had Coach Watson a phenomenal job there. Really turned the program around. I know last year they made a run. Was a state championship contender. Probably a top 5 team in all of 4A last year. So, we know they got a young team, very similar to us. Those guys are getting better every week. They've had a rough start to the season, but we know we're going to have to show up Friday night and play our best ball game and give ourselves a chance to win. But he does a great job there. They obviously have all these great athletes, and when you're well coached and you got good athletes, you usually put out a pretty good football team.
Yeah, and last thing I was going to tell you, he did lose 23 seniors off a team that went to the semis, but he told me, he said, these guys are actually a little bit more talented than that group last year. They just haven't put it together yet, and they're dangerous. I mean, they got losses to the 3rd-ranked team in 3A, the 8th-ranked team in 3A. So, I mean, they've had some really tough competition coming together. They're going to be one of the best 4-loss teams in the state, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And we definitely will not be taking them lightly, I can tell you that. It's we're excited about getting to play another week and hopefully continue to get better. But, we know that they're going to be a quality opponent, and just got to continue to focus on getting better and doing the things that we can control, and hopefully, be able to make it a ball game Friday night.
Coach, Reggie and I will see you this Friday. We're going to stop by there. We're going to check you guys out for sure. So we'll see you and Coach Bates.
Yeah, at some point.
This Friday night.
Awesome. Well, hey, looking forward to it, guys. I appreciate the time.
All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in. Look forward to having you guys back up one Monday, so we can get that worked out soon.
Yeah, and before we let you go, we got the pizza hookup now with Dr. Sparks here, so bring your appetites, buddy.
Hey, be careful now. I can eat.
Hey, we got plenty, man.
Hey, bring some of those guys with you, man. Bring some of your players with you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Our next game brings us to the Central Clay Vols. This week is going to be a massive game for Central Clay. It is basically a rematch of the state championship game last year. Playing Pleasant Grove again. That's huge. At this time on the Jarvis Rawls Ronnie Watkins Ford hotline, for the third week in a row, and this guy has absolutely knocked it out of the park. We have Mr. Tommy Wood on. Mr. Wood, great to have you on again, sir.
I mean, no problem, guys. We hope I live up to the billing there.
Man, you've done more than that. You've crushed it every week. Before we dive into that massive game this Friday night, take us back to last Friday night in Beauregard. It seems like you guys got up early and took off and, never looked back.
Well, Beauregard's got some players. They've got a few that are really strong, but they were both trying to play both ways, and that really hurt them. The first period, they pretty much did well in the trenches and made some plays, but when the second quarter rolled around, you could see them kind of giving out of gas a little bit, and then it's one of those things where it's the attrition over the course of the game just kind of took its toll. So it was one of those that I think we had more depth than they did, and from looking at the roster, I think we had some more experienced players too. So it was a good night, and it was a huge win, and especially to get that region win.
One thing about Central play, and I noticed this in the state championship game and several other games last year, it seems like when that third and fourth quarter rolls around, you guys are playing as hard in those snaps and those downs as you are at the beginning of the game. Can you talk about Danny Horn and the conditioning he has for his football team?
Well, I tell you, it's really amazing to see what takes place in the conditioning. And one thing, with COVID and everything this year, talking to Coach Horn back in August, he was really surprised at how well conditioned this team came back. Because normally they've been away for such a long period of time. He said obviously some strength issues, because they didn't have a gym to work out in. He said, but as far as running, the players came back in pretty good shape. And for him to say that's big because, like I said, they've been out since March. And one comment he made was, this just shows how much football means to these kids in this community, because these kids have worked even on their own and come back in pretty good shape. But once they get there in the fall, they run every day, and they are in pretty good shape, especially when it gets to the end of the year, and they just seem to get stronger as the season goes on.
At one point, Josh was out there at practices over the summer. He said they were running, I believe that day was 22 100s or 110s.
Yeah. I think it was like 52, but not like 52. But yeah, I think they ran 22 in one day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Between 18 and 20, I think around that area. But I think what he said, my son gave me the indication that a couple lines kind of slowed up going across the line, so they ran 3 or 4 more. So,
Hey, brother, that's the last thing you want to do.
It's one of those things. He's going to push him to the limit, and they're going to be in good shape. That's one thing you can count on.
Now, going into this week's game, these guys are playing at an elite level, and I'm going to tell you right now, they played Oxford tooth and nail, and everybody knows how explosive and dangerous Oxford is. And Keith Etheridge told me out of his own mouth, he said, "Bo, they got 5, 6, 7 guys they didn't have on last year's team that's moved in up there, and they look like a totally different team." Talk about what you've seen from those guys.
They looked really good at Jordan Hare last year.
Yeah,
It's not like
unbelievable.
that they were bad, but yeah, they had some guys move in, and I think obviously the quarterback Zach Perryman is somebody that he's just a playmaker, and he's just incredible with especially if he gets out of the pocket and can look downfield. And Chris Lewis, the wide receiver that's headed to Kentucky, and they've got. I tell you, I watched that Oxford game, and I said, I don't think they have a receiver that's under 6'3". I mean, they're just huge.
they were
long and rangy.
They were huge.
Yeah, it's going to be such a tough matchup for our guys. We just don't really have anybody that tall in the secondary. It's going to be a really tough matchup, as far as that goes. And, you work, and I do the AHSA games on Thursday with Rick Rhodes, who won a national championship at Troy. And as he and I watched that Oxford and Pleasant Grove, I think the defensive lineman, if I were coaching, I would tell him never try to get a rush, because you're going to open up a lane for that guy to get out, and that's when he's most dangerous. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of defensive efforts we come up with this week, but just slowing them down. And I thought, well, maybe we can put up a lot of points too. And then I looked, and they gave up 29 to Oxford, and since then they get up 7. So they're strong defensively, and they're an outstanding team. Because John LeBeau does a tremendous job, and I know that they've had this date circled for since last December. So I know they've been waiting on this. And, I saw an interview with Coach LeBeau the other day, and he said, we don't run 30-yard sprints, we run 31, and we run 41. And, he said, everything we do is 1 yard more to make up for that 1
Mr. Wood, this is Reggie here. Scheduling this game, I was kind of curious as to how this game ended up getting scheduled and whatnot, because technically this could be there could be possibly be a rematch in the state title game this year, as Pleasant Grove they're 5A North and you guys are in 5A South. Yeah, can you kind of tell us what went behind scheduling this?
Well, Reggie, you're asking the same question a lot of volunteer fans said when they heard that. I think that Coach LeBeau and Coach Moore have a lot of respect for each other, and I think they had talked about it. And it just knew going in, once the reclassification happened, that they saw that one was in the south and one was in the north, and I think that things just kind of, built from there. And, it was just one of those things that, both needed a game, and it kind of worked out. But, it sure would be a lot easier to have a good open day this week to go to somebody that you really felt confident again. But it's going to be a good measure to take for our program. I think that we've got to play well, to hang in there with them, because they are going to be an explosive offense. They've been the most explosive team we see all year, and probably the most overall talented team. They are, I told the lads that they're kind of like the Thompson of 5A right now. They are at that level, and they're playing extremely high. It's going to, we're going to have to play really well and see, I like our chances, but we're going to have to play extremely well, take care of the football, and just look forward to the game plan that the coaches come up with, and we'll see how it goes.
Before I let you go, I'm going to throw in one big X factor, and this is a major X factor, and this is something that I know Coach LeBeau is definitely probably concerned about, and that X factor is Boyd Ogles. Being as poised, and now he's a senior, being as poised as he is, he's seen games like this, he's played in games like this, he's won games like this. Talk about the X factor of Boyd Ogles being a senior, checking your team into the right play, getting people moving along. Although you're a little younger up front and you lost Fat Daddy and J.D. McNeely and Javon Woods and some of those guys, Boyd's still that calm, steady voice in that huddle.
Well, he is the leader. And, just the thing about it is he's been there, and when he's a sophomore, and he's in the state championship game against Fyffe, and Fyffe was such a, unbelievably talented team. And as soon as the game was over, I walked up to his dad, and I said, he never blinked. And that's something you say about an outstanding quarterback. He is so smart. It just, gets him into good plays and just does an extremely good job. He's a great kid, too. And I think going into a game like this, he is the calming factor for this offense. When he speaks, the team listens. And, we rely on Boyd to make plays. And, it's over Silicaca. We have a tight game, and it's, 4th down and 2. And they call timeout. He told the coaches, he said, you can call what you want to, but I'm keeping the football.
I like it. I like it.
And that's exactly what he did. He ran for about a 4-yard gain. He wanted the football in his hands, and that's something you love about him. He's a winner.
Absolutely. Tommy, as always, man, this has become the Tommy Woods special right here.
It is.
We love it, dude.
Yeah, we definitely love it.
Huge positive feedback. I appreciate you coming on again, and if there's ever a week we needed you, this is the week we needed you to talk us through this one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of talk going on this week, and again, we'll all build it up till Friday, and it's going to be a fun week. And like I said, it's what you play for. You play high school, you play the best. It's going to be an incredible game and atmosphere, and looking forward to Friday night.
Thank you so much, sir, and I'm sure we will be talking to you very soon. Go Vols.
All right, guys. All right, thank you, man. Go Vols.
Hi, I'm Miss Wilson. I'm the cheerleading coach. And this is Hero the Volunteer.
Now, so that's his full name, Hero the Volunteer? Okay. How did you get this job?
Well, he was just walking down the street and he said, hey, I'll volunteer.
Oh, you volunteered for
Yeah, I
it.
volunteered.
Oh, that's pretty befitting. Now, obviously you're here at home games. Do you go to away games as well?
Yes.
So you go to all the games. Do you have a signature go-to move? Love it.
Yes, two. So for this week's game, we are doing Be Bold and Go Gold, and that just means we're supporting childhood cancer awareness. And the color is gold for this month, and we're just bringing awareness to childhood cancer and the fact that it is very underfunded, and a lot of people just really don't really know a lot about it. But we're just trying to help these children out, these families, and raising awareness for it. So we'll be in our goals. Cheerleaders will be in their goals. Hero will be in his goals, and we want you to come in your yellow or gold as well and help support this cause.
All right. Well, Hero, we're sure to appreciate it. We're looking forward to Friday. Big game.
Go Vols!
All right, guys, our next team up, we've got the Coosa Christian Conquerors in the house. We got Coach Mark O'Brien. And Coach O'Brien, who'd you bring with you tonight?
Yeah, I brought Coach Dax Nunn. He's the offense coordinator. Okay. And then I brought Matthew Wright, which he's also the low line coach. So this is one of his linemen.
All right.
Okay. Who's a sophomore as well.
All right. Many of y'all don't know, Dax was actually with us the first year we started After Shows.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. It has. Good to have you back, man. He was. Yeah, he was with us. He was our Southside guy. You guys are coming off a tough loss to Appalachian region play last week. This week, we got a non-region game against Asbury coming up. Talk to us a little bit about Asbury and what you guys have seen on film from them so far.
I mean, we just got to play really hard. I think Asbury's, they're just, just got to play hard. I can't really speak on what they do. I think they play tough football, play physical football. So things haven't really went the way we want them to go, so far. But, we really work on not focusing on what our record is or what the score is. It's just really just focus on getting better each day. And that's what these guys come to do. They come to get better. And, we just got to continue to work hard. So we got a bunch of young guys, and they all come to work hard. I said that at Media Day, and I'll say it again. We work extremely hard.
Yeah, I've been out to a few practices with you guys this summer and for the start of the season. And one thing I've noticed, like you said, you're young, but everybody works hard. I mean, your practices are fast paced and everything. And I think we've talked before. You said you'd like to run your practice the way you're going to run your run in the game. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we want to be very, very fast there in practice. We want maximum amount of reps, and we're just again, our Achilles heel right now is we're starting 6th, 8th graders.
Wow.
Okay, and when you're doing that, there's a lot of pain that goes with that, right? And then we're starting, I think, 1 or 2 9th graders, right? We've got 4 seniors, 2 juniors. I don't know, 3 or 4 sophomores. 4 sophomores, the rest is freshmen, 8th graders, and we got a 7th grader that I'll probably start.
Wow.
And so we're incredibly young. And the future's very good, right?
Yeah.
Even when I was at Oxford, I guess if you took our top 6, and I told Dax this, if you took our top 6 players at Oxford, and I had KJ Britt in that one, all right, the top 6 here is the best I've ever had at any school. Period.
It's pretty
so,
awesome.
Yeah, so it's really good. It's just we're going to take a lot of, I think I told Buddy at the Westbrook game, we're going to take a beating this year, right? We just want our kids to play hard, play physical, and let's get stronger in the weight room, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the next couple of years, I believe it's going to pay a lot of dividends for us.
Yeah. Peanut Gallery.
Peanut Gallery here. Coach, when we had the Cole brothers, they're brothers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Cole brothers and Delpon, they talked about, I asked them about your background in Navy SEAL, how hardening the mind is the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about being a Navy SEAL and going through buds and things like that. It's basically you versus you. How much can you take? How much can you persevere when your mind's telling you no? That's kind of leaked over into your coaching, and they touched on it a little bit. Can you touch on it now that you're here?
Yeah, we try to pride ourselves on being, and it's almost metaphorical, like, but we want to be the toughest kids in the state, right? And that's what you preach to the kids, right? And I know that sounds arrogant or cliche-ish, right? But it's really not. I mean, we do a lot of things that a lot of football teams probably doesn't do, that have incorporated SEAL training inside of their training. And of course, it's not fully implemented. Once this season gets over, we'll be implementing jiu-jitsu, right? And we continue and we monitor their nutrition and, you know, what we tell them what to eat, how to eat. We're feeding them, we're proteining them, and we're gaining. Most of our kids are gaining 25, 30 pounds this offseason.
Wow.
All right, and that's a fact because we weigh them weekly, right? And so in our workouts, everybody has a great weight program. Okay, so everybody's going to brag on their weight program, right? But we really we're real finite with everything we do. We're just so young, right? And for us to even compete at this level, right? With this many 6th or 8th graders, and you know, going to be a 7th grader that's coming up, and some 9th graders and 10th graders. I think the future is good for us. It's just we're going to get our heads beat in, for the short time, right? But for long-term effect, and that's what we tell these kids, right? Just, what don't kill you, just get back up, fight again, fight again, fight again, fight again, right?
Question. Talk to us about the training you guys go through and how that's how that plays into your into the game.
Yeah, so the whole summer workouts and practice, we were really fast, and we were hitting each other the whole summer, right? So in the game, when the other team's getting really tired, we're still playing full speed. Like in the 3rd and 4th quarter, the other team's gassed. Even though we're playing both ways and they're not, we're not tired.
Pretty awesome. For a 1A school, that's pretty impressive to be able to do that, to go 4 quarters and still you're still going and the other team is tired. That's kudos to you guys for getting these guys ready at especially being so young. I mean, that is amazing, and I've enjoyed coming over, spending time with you guys, and I look forward to doing it some more before the season's over with.
Reggie, and I want to chime in on this. All right, just quitting is not an option.
Yeah.
Okay, and if there's one thing that I guess we teach you guys, right? That's it's not even a topic. It's off the table. Okay, we're not gonna feel sorry for these kids.
Right.
Okay, they're gonna play to our level, or they're gonna pay dire consequences of what we're gonna do to them, right? And they know that, right? And it's just quitting's not an option. So it's what it is.
I like it.
The good thing about football, and something that I think everybody loves, and this has always happened, and I think everybody in this room has probably been on a team like this. Eventually, there's going to come a day when you guys start being the hammer instead of the nail. That's when all this really starts coming together and starts being fun.
And I'll chime in on that real quick. And this is not about me or Dax, right? This is about what we're trying to implement. We're seeing that, on the 7th, 8th, 9th grade level, right? The same kids that are playing varsity are playing that 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And that's how we can gauge it. That's the barometer that we set, right? And, through 4 games, running clocks in every game, right? Tonight was the first time a quarterback's actually finished the game, right? We've knocked out every quarterback before this, right? And I think we're up. We'll keep a running count because we measured them, but we've knocked out 8 players, through 4 games, okay? And so, yeah, the future is bright. Okay, it's really bright. It's really, really good. We just got to keep on keeping on. Keep fighting.
I like it. Well, guys, we appreciate you coming on, Coach O'Brien, Dax, Matthew. We look forward to having you guys on some more, and we will definitely be visiting with you guys some more. And we got one more question from the peanut gallery.
I mean,
You don't have time.
I don't have time.
We don't have time.
I mean, honestly, if that's one thing I can say, we're working. We work, tirelessly. But I can honestly say that, when we see a team, we almost know what he had for breakfast that morning. Like that's how much we study it. So, but I probably not.
Our last off day was 42 days ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
so that puts it in perspective.
Yeah,
It's
Dex,
7 days a week.
I'm telling you, I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner with him.
Dex is one of my best friends, man, and this is the first time I've seen Dex probably since I last came over and visited with you guys. So, but yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on with us, and we enjoy it and look forward to having you guys on some more, like I said, and good luck this week against Ashville.
Thank you,
Thank
Reggie.
you.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
and we're going to move on to our next one.
All right, our next game brings us into the Etowah Blue Devils is coming off a shutout victory, 24-0 over the Ashville Bulldogs. I'm gonna let these two gentlemen sitting beside me introduce themselves at this time.
Toby Camp, 58, offensive tackle, defensive end. Jacob Sanford, 42, defensive end, fullback.
And I promise you, fine folks in Etowah, where I was growing up and spent the majority of my life, we're not specifically bringing in only defensive players. It just kind of works out like this every week. I bet Philip Pierce is like, yeah, that's my boys right there. But a shutout victory this week, and you guys are, defensively, I said this before the season started, and I said people's probably going to laugh when I say this. I said Etowah's backbone is going to be their defense this year. And I said that on the first show, and I said people are going to laugh at this because they didn't see what I seen at practice, and they don't know these guys and know the work they put in. But now nobody's laughing. You know what I'm saying? Now it's kind of coming to fruition that these guys are performing at a very, very high level and peaking at the right time. Toby, talk about y'all's progressions ever since that Gadsden City game. And even in the Gadsden City game, you guys were just on the field too much. Offense couldn't get going, so it was three plays back on the field. 3 plays back on the field. So talk about your progressions and, where you guys are defensively right now.
Well, versus Gas City, we had a lot of dudes out. Number 7 and 2, 3 linebackers were out. And we just couldn't get lined up on the field. But after Gas City, everything started connecting. Started lining up right. And we got everybody back. And Tay helped us out a lot. Because the dude that did play, he hasn't played since he was a peewee.
Mm-hmm.
So he helped us out coming back. And we just started settling in and focusing on what we got to do. We lined up right.
Tay is fast becoming locked down. He is, and I watched him when he plays basketball, his lateral movement and all, and he knows how to use his hands. Like he's learning on the go, but I'm going to tell you something, man, that guy is very good out in coverage, especially if you put that guy on an island. He can change the game and shut one side of the field down, which is, change the whole dynamic of the game. From your perspective, talk about how you guys have gotten more physical up front. I've noticed lately you guys are kind of unblockable up front. Talk about it a little bit.
Really, after Gadsden, we took that bye week really seriously, and we just wanted to get everything right because everybody knows you don't really get beat 34-0 or get shut out in general, especially a team like Gadsden. But that week, we were just so lasered in, dialed in, and we even got together after practice, and we were doing all kinds of conditioning, hand work, and all that kind of stuff. And me and him would even get some extra workouts in.
I seen you guys at Wilmore. I've seen you guys several times at Wilmore, actually. Buddy, you've probably seen these guys at Wilmore before. Did Buddy Ford give y'all some tips when he was in there?
Probably did.
Buddy's a 3-time national powerlifting champion.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. 3 times. 3.
Toby, you're here. Let's just go ahead and rewind the clock for a minute. Talk about the pick six, not last week, but the week before. Walk us through that play, please.
Well, I was dog tired, first off.
Yeah, like you paint the picture.
Yeah, dog tired, I crossed his face, and I realized that the center, guard, and tackle were just running that way. So I looked up, saw the ball coming towards me. I said, oh crap. Grabbed it, dropped it, bobbled it, and then ran, and then called a crowd.
I got to teach you how to tell a story, because what you should say is man, this pass was uncatchable, and I went up, man, y'all should have seen that. It's one hand, I was back on, pulled it in. It was nothing.
I told the truth.
We'll work on that storytelling.
Pull it down. Hey, I want you guys, each one of you guys, to talk about. Have y'all gotten to watch film on Fort Payne yet?
Yes.
Both of you guys. We'll start over here. Talk about what you've seen from Fort Payne offensively. What you guys are going to be looking at going into this game.
Offensively, like they got size on us pretty good, and they fly to the ball, and they really like to play downhill and just hard-nosed football on defense. And on offense, they're bunched up and they like to run zone and kind of throw a pass here and there to their big tight end.
Yeah, they got a couple of guys that we're familiar with. Reggie and I have gotten to know. They're a pretty physical team, and here's the problem with you guys before Toby starts his breakdown of this game is if you guys let them cross the 50, they're in scoring range. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you don't always see that.
Kicker.
You don't always see that in high school, but if they
We got
cross
the
the
peanut
50,
gallery coming in.
if they cross the 50, they're in scoring range pretty much with these guys.
That's amazing.
Hold on, we got a peanut gallery before Toby breaks it down.
That's not a guarantee with him. I saw him miss two, one from about 53, and I want to say the other one maybe 55.
He missed a 55-yarder. How do you do that?
He shanked it. I think he shanked it. He shanked it to the left both times. So yeah, y'all just put some fear in him and shake him up a little bit before he kicks the ball, and I think y'all be fine.
Keep him at least 3 yards out. Once or twice.
Yeah.
Toby,
Yeah.
did you take a personal foul just to get in his head?
Yeah, I took it.
All right, so Toby, your breakdown of Fort Payne, what you've seen from those guys.
Right. Pretty much exactly what he said. They got a lot of size on us. They don't play dudes both ways like we do. I play both ways. He plays both ways, and our other nose, he plays both ways. So
Bennett?
Yeah, Bennett. So once we get going, we're gonna get gassed out. But we have people that can swap in and out, that can hold it down for us.
Yeah.
They never check me out. But even if my hands.
What has Coach Locke's message been to you guys since the Gadsden City game that's kind of flipped you guys around and got you rolling like you are now?
How good do we want to be, pretty much.
You kind of put the ball back in your court and said, hey, if you want to do this, you got to do this.
Yeah.
I like it. He's doing a lot of positive things, and I've told this story before on camera. It was hilarious. I was walking into the stadium at halftime of the Aniana game, and I had 3 people hit me up and was complaining about Coach Locke. They were like, hey, we played 6 quarters, man. I don't know if he's going to last. Let's get him out of here. And I'm like, listen to what you just said. He's coached 6 quarters, and you're wanting him out of here. And I grew up in Etowah, so I can say this. Only in Etowah you're going to hear that. I'm like, and then all of a sudden, boom, something clicked. 28 points. And not half. And y'all only gave up 7. So, I'm sitting here saying, okay. And then the next week, boom. Then the next week, boom. So y'all seem to be clicking on a different level now, and I'm proud of it, man. Anytime we have multiple teams in Etowah County do good, it's good for the county. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad you guys come on. Buddy, you have anything else?
Well, good luck this week, guys.
Well, thank you.
Does anybody want to comment on Trent's new hairdo? Or just Trent took his hair down, actually.
He did.
The week before last, he had a new hairdo. But all right, anyways, we're going to shut this one down. On to our next. All right, our next game brings us in to the Fyffe Red Devils, who just come off a 54-6 victory over Brindley Mountain. Coach Benefield said before that game that Brindley Mountain had some struggles just fielding the team. I think that's down to like the teens in number of players on their team. So it had some major trouble. Then they had COVID scare, and they're out 2 weeks. And then, Benefield said, that's just a tough situation for that coach up there. Yeah. He called him a name. I don't know the guy, but Fyffe, it don't matter. They play the Patriots, and it's still 54-6 or what I mean. It seems like. We're just kidding, Coach Benefield. We're trying to keep level-headed here. But moving forward here, it's supposed to have been an off week. That's not going to be the case. Clark County, Reggie, called and said they wanted to come to Paul Benefield Stadium and see what Fyffe was all about.
We're not trash talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Clark County's about to get a huge wake-up call. I don't think they realize what they just signed up for. Number one, Fyffe is a tough place to play. Number two, Yeah, they're about to run into the big red machine. They're about to find out what the big red machine is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long bus ride back home.
Well, here's the thing. On those games like that, it's a long bus ride to get there. Does that play into your legs being underneath you? You're going to be jazzed up because you're playing a two-time defending state champion at their place. That's got to get you, if you're an athlete and a competitor, that's got to get your juices flowing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you're facing a team that has only given up 3 points in the last 18 games with their starters. So that's the problem if you're Clark County here. I applaud Clark County for taking this game, and I got to dig in on Clark County a little bit. They're 3-0. One game was by forfeit, which was Greene County, but they beat Jackson 33-8. They beat Orange Beach 34-7. So technically on the season, they're outscoring their opponent 68-15. That's pretty impressive. They're moving down from 4A to 3A, so they should have good numbers. If you read between the lines, though, which I normally do, teams that's supposed to do good against Fyffe that don't always pan out that way.
Yeah.
And I take Isabella, for example. Some people around the state, talking heads, said that they're either going to be in the four-quarter game with Fyffe or beat Fyffe because of the way they played Laverne the year before. Not Laverne, Christian Story.
Mm-hmm. Real Town.
No, not Christian Story.
Lynette. Yeah.
And because I think Lynette only beat them 41-21, and they scored late to make it look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 48-0 Fyffe. It was just it's just. So, if I want to see, and again, I've said this, it's not like a broken record. Until I see somebody line up between the tackles and handle the physicality on offense and on their defense, because Fyffe is as physical with their offense as they are defensive.
Yep.
That takes a toll on, especially if you got guys playing both ways. Reggie, your take?
A couple things about Clark County. That Jackson team they beat earlier in the season, that's a 5A school, and a pretty good 5A school, because right now that is their only loss. And Jackson historically has been one of the top 5A teams in South Alabama. They're always in the thick of the championship hunt in 5A for the South. And Clark County's head coach, I don't know if anybody realizes who he is, Mr. Stacy Luker. He spent a lot of time at Sweetwater, and he was the head coach at Sweetwater when they were on their run through 1A. So they have a great coach. I'm sure Clark County's going to be a very well coached team. They're going to be ready. But like you said, you're going to run into a different animal when you go into fight.
Yeah, they beat Viger and Selma. Jackson did.
Oh yeah. I mean, Jackson they're a great team. They're a great team. They're all, like I said, when you talk 5A South football, Jackson is one of those teams you always having that discussion. So Clark County, I mean, and they beat them pretty good. Yeah. So
be interesting.
It will be an interesting game.
We'll find out.
That we will, sir.
The Fighting Paul Benefields.
We're going to change the name to all of our teams.
To the head coach, the Fightings, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, dude.
The Fighting Benefields.
The Fighting Benefields.
I like that. That has a pretty good ring to it.
The Fighting Benefields at Paul Benefield Stadium.
Versus the Fighting Lucers.
The Fighting Lucers. That's epic. All right. We're going to shut this one down and move on to our next.
All right, guys, we are here with our next segment with the Gadsden City Titans. We got 4 guys here, and we also got a Gadsden City alum, Parker Holland, with us. But as far as the other guys, I'll let y'all introduce yourselves. Start with Mr. Caleb right here.
I'm Caleb Harris, kicker, Gadsden City.
Damon Wilson, receiver, Gadsden City.
I'm Tristan Scripps, long snapper and center, Gadsden City.
Caleb Palmer, inside linebacker, Gadsden City.
All right, guys. Y'all are coming off a huge 7A Region 3 win against Spain Park. A lot of people in the Birmingham area were doubting you guys to win that game, and y'all came out and pretty much dominated. Talk to us about some of the preparation you guys went through getting ready for that game.
We were mentally locked in.
Yeah, I could. Go ahead.
practice was just energetic. We were just all into it. We wanted this one more than anything.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right. I could tell there was a difference with you guys coming in to the game because before y'all came out through the tunnel, I thought y'all were going to shake it down. I mean, it was doing this, and I was standing there on the field, and I was like, Spain Park's in trouble. I was like, Spain Park's in trouble, I do believe. Well, going into this week's game, you got a huge game against Oxford, another region game, but this is a little bit of a rivalry game for Gadsden City. I think Mr. Parker can tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, it is. This was the one game on the schedule that we always looked forward to when I was in high school. You know, it was going into this week. It was all you're all in because it's Gadsden City. We don't lose to Oxford. We're not supposed to, at least.
Right.
You know, this is the one game you circled and was all right. We got to bring it this week, and it was every time. All 3 years I was there, 4 years I was there, it was energetic practices. Everybody getting their assignments right and executing what they need to execute, and it's a big game.
All right. Going into the game this week, I'm sure y'all had thought about them being the state champions. Y'all are just dialed in on what you're supposed to do. Y'all had a chance to watching the film on Oxford and kind of see what they're doing offensively and defensively?
Yes, we have.
Okay. All right. Y'all not a very talkative bunch, man. Talk to us about some of the things you guys have seen from them and kind of what you expect. You don't have to go into too much detail because some Oxford they watch the show.
Well, I've watched some from today. Defensively, they're not as big as they were last year. They lost, I think, 2 of their starting linebackers. I mean, they're going to be physical and they're going to play hard, but as far as last year goes, they're not as big as they were last year.
Okay. Do you think the speed you guys have is going to match up with Oxford's speed this year?
Yes, most definitely.
Speed and physicality.
That's going to be key. Well, talk to us. Like I said, being in 7A Region 3, a lot of people have doubted you guys, but y'all have come out and really, in my opinion, I think y'all have shocked the state so far, and y'all have definitely turned some heads. Talk to us about some of the things y'all have done throughout the summer and leading up into the season to kind of get ready to go through that 7A Region 3.
We've just worked as a team, come together more of a team, and just push each other each and every day in the weight room, on the field, in practice. We just want it more.
Yeah. Peanut gallery.
Peanut gallery here. I got a question, and any one of you guys is, what was Coach Smith's message to y'all in the locker room after the win last Friday? Because that was a huge moment in Gadsden City for me personally. To see that happen, a lot of people doubted you guys about 7A Region 3, and to beat somebody like Spain Park was pretty well known in 7A Region 3. What was his message directly after the game in the locker room?
He was happy for us, but he wasn't really satisfied. That's one region win, but we still got business. We got wins to go.
Yeah, definitely. I think y'all are not looking ahead, I should say. And I know we're focused on Oxford right now. But going back to what Tristan said earlier, y'all have come together as a team. Somebody, I can't remember who told me this over the summer, that you guys did a lot of fishing together as a team. Talk to us about that. Yeah. Talk to us about that. Some of the things y'all did in the off season outside of football to kind of get everybody together.
I say we just hung out more. We fished. We went out to eat. We just hung out with each other, trying to build that bond that we needed. Because I feel like last year we were like teammates, obviously, but we weren't really bonding together as we should. And I feel like last year after the season was over, we got together and we talked, and we told each other that we just needed to build a stronger bond. So heading into next season, that will help us.
All right, Parker, talk to us about things like that as far as forming a bond with a team. I know playing in college at Southern Miss and Jacksonville State, how important is doing something like that?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you got to have your brothers there to have your back. Because it doesn't matter whether you're the starting quarterback or the backup kicker or the third string left tackle. Everybody's got to do their job, and you go through spring and summer, and everybody's doing the exact same. Like you're still busting your butt just like everybody else, and just having that team chemistry there as far as like I'm going to do what I got to do to get you better and get my teammates better get us a win this Saturday is just it's a massive thing. And if you don't have that, it's really tough to win a lot of games. But if you do have that, it's tough to stop that team.
That's awesome. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all coming on. It's the first time we've had y'all on this year. But we appreciate you guys coming on with us, and look forward to seeing y'all do some great things going forward in the season. And good luck to you guys at Oxford this week. And we want to move on to the next one.
All right, our next game is going to bring us into the Glencoe Yellow Jackets, and they're going to be playing Douglas this upcoming week. But before we dive into that game, we're going to touch on a little bit of last week's game versus Hoax Bluff, and that was a tough one. I know that, but you guys got started off pretty rough in that game. I know, buddy, you went to that game. I'm gonna let you talk about that game a little bit. What you've seen for both teams.
All right, first of all, let's let this gentleman here. We'll let him introduce himself, please.
Hi, I'm Taylor Westcott. I play right guard and center for class 2023.
2023. I was at y'all's game, and really what I saw is, I know you guys got quite a few young guys playing. I know one of y'all's wide receivers is out. He got hurt against Piedmont last week. I saw some young mistakes and some tackling issues, but everything that I saw is something that can be worked on and can be corrected.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts last week.
Well, I mean, we really just went to the game with the mindset that we were just going to just beat them up and down, and we went to that first drive on defense, and they just ran it down our throat, and we didn't have an answer for it. And when we went to offense, we just made a lot of mental mistakes.
Yeah. A few turnovers and things like that. And that's something you can't do against a good defense. But moving forward, that game's over. Y'all go to Douglas, or do they come to you?
Yes, sir, we go to Douglas.
So you'll go to Douglas, which is actually it's got a pretty good Douglas team this year.
Yeah, they're 3-2 in the year.
3-2. If y'all got a plan moving forward for this week?
You got to watch film on Douglas?
No, sir, I haven't.
I got to watch film yet. I know we had the Fontaine kid on, a couple of guys from Douglas on. I mean, they're to be winning like they are. I mean, that's the first time Douglas has won. That's the first time Douglas.
They start 3-0 or 2-0 this year.
3-0.
3-0.
Okay. I mean, it's the first time Douglas has been 3-0 since I don't know. Huh. But now they've kind of come back in reverse now. Like last week, they took a bad loss to Gunnersville, 50-0. But this is a winnable game for you guys for sure. I mean, you guys show up and I think with Glencoe, the thing I noticed about them, even when we was out there in practice, I mean, y'all are one of the youngest teams we've ever covered.
Yeah.
See, like yourself, you're not even class of
2023 is just sophomore.
Yes, sir.
You're sophomore. Yeah.
Man.
Big dude, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Hey, we got some pizza.
I'll tell you what, that's one thing I noticed when I was out there, though. Glencoe's got some dudes. They got some size, man. I was impressed. I was like, man, that's because even like when I was in school, that was one of the things that Glencoe was known for. Is man, their front line, they had the dudes, in being physical as well. So I just think that you young guys, it's just part of the learning process. I mean, that's just part of being young. You take a loss and you figure out what you can learn from that loss and move forward and build on that. Okay, so
I
you never want to get discouraged or anything like that.
Coach Allred, man, what has he meant to you guys, man, from a football standpoint, from a life standpoint? Like, what does he mean to you in your life? We've had all the kids love him. I know that. What does he mean to you personally?
Well, I mean, when I moved last year, I knew no one, and he really just kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to everyone, and took me under like I was his own, basically. So I love him.
Yeah, he transferred from Etowah from last year to this year.
The Blue Devil.
Yeah.
Oh, I like where your head's at.
That's when I know this is going to be a tough game because I know Coach Wadley.
Well, he's gone now.
He is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gone. They got a new coach. Yeah, the father's gone. So they actually got a new coach this year. They got a little bit different look. That's why, I don't know, sometimes you get a little juice off of a new coach, and I think it kind of helped them early in the year. It's not going to be an easy game, but it's a winnable game for Glencoe moving forward. Guys like you get in the trenches and get rolling. This could get pretty interesting.
That's the thing. I wanted some of these big guys to come on the show. We give a lot of love to the skilled players, but you big guys, man, every play, every snap, you guys you're in the trenches. You're getting dirty. We wanted to recognize you guys and let you know that we know you're there and we hadn't forgot about you boys.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever heard the term "big uglies"?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a term in the '80s. Keith Jackson used to use all the time, '70s and '80s. He said, we call them the big uglies, but without them, nothing else happens.
Nothing else can happen without those guys in the trenches, man. That's a fact.
Do you take offense to being called a big ugly?
No, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, brother, we appreciate you having you on, and good luck this weekend. I know y'all guys hang in there. I mean, you guys still got everything's still in front of you.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're not eliminated from the playoffs or nothing. You hang in there, keep fighting. This is one of those gut check times. It's time to dig deep, do what you guys do, get Coach Allred, and get you guys rolling. And the thing about young guys is, and you see it in basketball all the time and football, they don't know any better. Right. So if they could get on a roll where they're one thing goes positive and they can get on a roll, that thing can spiral out of control. I mean, that's in a positive way.
Yeah.
So, and it may just be one run or some spark, and it happens. Yeah. Brother, we appreciate you having you on. We're going to look forward to seeing you guys perform this weekend, and good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. On to our next. All right, man. Our next game brings us into the Oaks Bluff Eagles fighting Mike Robertsons. Y'all like that?
I like it.
But I'm going to let these two big, beefy gentlemen introduce themselves at this time.
Brody Lumpkin, number 77, class of 2021, offensive right tackle and nose guard.
I'm J.R. Golden. I'm a junior and at Hooks Bluff, and I'll play left tackle and nose guard.
Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. JR's actually spent the night at the house with my son, the Oaks Bluff Eagle. JR can knock it down, son. He can knock it down. So if we did have an eating contest, before we even get into
let's go ahead.
football,
Let's get this out of the way.
We'll
break the ice a little bit.
So if we're going to have an eating contest between you
let's
two
say
guys,
a wing
who wins?
eating contest.
Yeah, wing eating. Who do you think would win?
Well, no.
When we talking about
24 piece at Jefferson's.
Okay, I eat 30.
You know what?
Hey,
we got some
this.
meat here tonight. We're going to have some more. I'm thinking Average Joe's wing eating contest somewhere. We need a sponsor.
So if we're talking about ballpark, how many of you guys think you could possibly eat realistically, like
Together?
a number? No, just each. How many? One city. 35?
Yeah, probably at least.
35. Now, y'all, well, let me
We're
ask you
going
this.
to put these into a pool.
Hold on.
We're going
We
to get
talking
this
about
taken
like
care of.
mild, high? What's the
Let's just
flavor?
make it really neat.
I can handle anything.
Ooh, challenge.
I like where their heads are at because I'm going to remember that when we do this.
We're 2 minutes in. We'll talk about football in a minute. Just bear with us, guys. All right, let's talk about football. Last week, man, had to feel pretty good to send your seniors out 4-0 against Glencoe, and to do it in the fashion you did, 42-0. We'll start with JR. What did that feel like? Because it seems like you guys up front, which is one of the main reasons we have you guys in right now, kind of set the tone from the beginning, and it lasted all the way into the end. Talk about your team's performance overall, especially up front.
I thought overall up front we did a great job. You know, coming off the Ohatchee loss the week before, we just knew that as the offensive line we had to play better, and I felt like that we really were able to handle Glencoe and show them really what we could do.
You was like, hey, paint my stop signs again, bro. Paint my stop
We
signs
did hit on
again.
the stop sign thing. Yeah.
Same question to you.
I think we did a very good job up front. Our receivers have improved a lot. Our backs, they're doing a very good job. We're going to hit them hard.
And you know what? A lot of people don't know, didn't even realize this, that Tucker didn't play against Ohatchee.
Right.
I think having him back probably gave you guys up front a confidence boost as well.
You know, it's actually their only senior defensive backs starter. He tore his ACL right in
Yes,
the
sir.
Ohatchee game.
Yes,
So
sir.
they're even younger now in the defensive
We got a
backs.
peanut gallery.
Peanut
question.
gallery.
Yeah, we got a peanut gallery question here. Going back to the stop signs. Oaks Bluff's not exactly innocent in the stop sign because I live in Glencoe and I've seen several HBs in my neighborhood. So,
Can we call fake news on this?
The
Y'all-
HB could stand for Hunter Burke. I'm just throwing that out there.
uh-oh. That's, oh boy. So, yeah, I just want to throw that a little bit out there.
Hey, so Oaks Bluff's not innocent in this stop sign.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, I got you.
But we still love the Eagles.
I got you. Let's talk about this week before we run out of our allotted time here. You guys have a very, very tough opponent that you're going to have here for homecoming, correct?
Yes, sir.
So Spring Garden, who's undefeated and rolling, I mean, they beat a team that we cover West End by 60. I think it was 60 nothing, but But I mean, you guys play a different brand of ball than West End. But have you guys gotten to watch film on them yet?
Not yet. Not as a team, but we've seen some individually.
What did you see from those guys?
Well, obviously they were just very. I mean, obviously they've got great size to be a 2A school.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some absolutely huge kids. They're very physical. They have kind of that quicker type of a defensive line as opposed
They're
to
very fast.
yes, they've got a lot of speed too.
They got really good skill guys.
If they got guys like that up front, then when you guys do pass block and they got agile guys like that, y'all definitely got to be on your P's and Q's.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. Buddy, what you got?
I don't know. I just this week you guys obviously y'all are going to take it seriously. The Spring Gardens, they got nothing to lose, man. They're going to come into the woodshed as we call it, man, and they're going to be ready to bust some heads. And you guys, obviously, y'all are coming off a big win. You played so much better against Glencoe. I was at the Ohatchee game. I was at the Glencoe game, and that was the style of Hopesville football that I'm used to seeing. So you got to take that win. You got to correct any mistakes we made this past week and play even better this week against a good Spring Garden team.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah. You're going to show Spring Garden why it's called the Woodshed?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I love it when he's talking about they got some big guys up front. Look at these guys.
Dude,
I mean,
we
these
had to
guys
move
are
our camera
huge.
back to fit these dudes in.
Yeah.
And we just had 5 guys, the video before this.
We didn't adjust it from the 5 guys.
No, we had to pull it
These
back.
2 guys here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We had to pull it back. But
Good luck this week, guys. We appreciate y'all coming on the show, and we're trying to show love to these guys. This is where it starts right here, guys. In the
Up front.
trenches. This is where it starts, up front. You got to win up front if you're going to win the ball game.
Coach Rob will tell you that. Coach Rob, people say what they want about Coach Rob. He's old school or whatever, but he'd be the first man to look you in your eyes and say games are won and lost in those trenches. And
Absolutely.
having guys like these guys right here in between us is definitely a big reason of why Hopes Bluff is big, physical, strong. And actually, anywhere you go in the state, when the name Hopes Bluff comes up, right after that, they'll say, hey, my God, them guys will hit you.
They'll hit you.
That is what they're known for. They're one of those teams. Well, all right, buddy. You got anything else?
I don't, man. Good luck, guys.
Hey, appreciate
and,
and
best of luck
guys,
this
we
week.
will have a wing eating contest at some point this season.
Yes, absolutely.
So you guys go ahead and be
Definitely
ready
looking
for
forward
that.
to it.
Hey,
We'll be there.
we may do a team. We'll get into that. We may do a team Hopes Bluff versus.
Like where your head's at. We'll work on that.
We're gonna work the kinks out. Last question is: do y'all guys prefer bone in or boneless?
Boneless, definitely.
Boneless.
Really.
Ooh, here's a challenge, another challenge. We may have to get these 2 to square off first, and
Yeah,
then we'll
we'll
move forward after that.
We'll work on that.
All right, we're going to go and move on to the next. All right, next game up, we're going to talk about the Oxford Yellow Jackets. They're coming off a big win versus Pell City, 59-20. At this time, we do have defensive coordinator, my guy. I got to hang out with him last Thursday on the Coach Etheridge show. Coach Cochran, who is the mastermind behind that defense at Oxford, who won the state championship last year in 6A. Coach, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Man, I appreciate you coming on not only here tonight, but last week on the Coach Etheridge show, and we got to break down some stuff with you, and it was fantastic, and I've had a lot of positive feedback. Before we dive into the Gadsden City game, take us back last week. Some of the things you told me you had to take away is you guys are going to have to perform at a high level to go into Pell City and get a win. Take us back to your defense's performance last week.
Yes, sir. Our guys are really dialed in. I mean, it's a big rivalry game. Our guys really focused in all week long. We had a really intense practices Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. When we hit the field, I mean, those guys expected to be successful. They expect to play physical. I think our starters played 28 snaps and they were 47 total yards. So those guys came ready to play and really set the tempo and set the just played really violent. I really liked the way we played the last 3 weeks. We shut out the opponents the last 3 weeks of our starters. I think we're in a really good place. We moved some guys around just to get our personnel the way we wanted. I think we're really set in stone where we're at. We're just starting to create some depth now. So, guys are really playing at a high level, really dialed in right now.
Coach, it seems to me ever since kind of like that second half of that Thompson game, something's clicked and you guys are playing at another level. Well, now you've got some guys back healthy that you didn't even have that's wreaking havoc on the offensive lines and crashing down in the offensive backfield. Talk about that defensive front especially and how I've noticed one thing about you guys. You don't have these big lumbering guys. You got a lot of physical long-rangey guys that go get after people.
Yes, sir, we do. We're mainly a big read front. We've moved a little bit more front this year just because of our speed. Getting Jabri Ford back off the ACL has been really, really big. His first game back against Southside, he had 6 tackles for loss on the sack. And he just takes a lot of pressure off those other guys. There's a lot of teams want to double him up, and a lot of times have to shoot him in the back and things like that. So, he brings another dimension. And like I said, on the show Thursday, we're able to play 6 to 7, 8 guys up front, which is allowing us to stay fresh. Last year we had such 3 dominant guys that it's really hard to take those guys off the field last year. But the guys that we got this year, they're all playing at a pretty high level, and they're all pretty much the same player. So we're able to play 7 to 8 guys and stay fresh. That's been a big, big help.
When you got DBs like Traquan Fagans, Delvon Fagans, and guys like that, that create that extra second, man, how huge is that?
Man, I think those guys really, really stepped up their game. Traquan, he's so electric. Anytime he touches the ball, he's taking that thing to the house. We just got to do a better job of not blocking behind him.
Yeah.
He's probably returned it 3 times. We just got guys playing hard. They're just trying to make a play or make a block for him, and making a mistake here or there. We just got to clean those things up. And I tell you, Delvin Fagans has really played. These last 3 games, he has been a total, complete player. He has really, really played well, really dialed in all week long with our checks and what we want him to do. And so he's been really, really big. And then, of course, we moved Rod Elston, over from running back after Thompson game. He's been playing safe. I tell you, he's done a tremendous job. He's really like having another linebacker in there with what we asked him to do. And I tell you, he really gets downhill and does a great job of big run game. And Miguel Mitchell, that played receiver last year, also starts at safety. And he's really starting to dial in. He's starting to get that defensive mentality. Moving from offensive side of defense, he's getting that defensive mentality, and he's getting better every rep every week. So, we're really excited about those guys. They've made a lot of plays in the back end, and I expect them to do the same as we move forward.
Yeah, they're really good. Coach, I know you've got to break down some film on Gadsden City. They're a much improved football team. They got a 2-headed monster at running back, veteran offensive line that's big and physical. Talk about what you've seen from Gadsden City.
Absolutely. They are really playing well. They are playing physical and violent. Their offensive line's really rolling off the football. And like you said, they got 2 running backs that will get downhill and pound you. We're going to do a great job of tackling and running the football and rallying and then game tackling those guys because they run hard. And, they're doing a great job schematically, too, with the personnel they have. Last week, they really pounded Spain hard. They ran, they really got in a lot of 2 tight stuff and double pro, tight end trips, closed, and a lot of that kind of stuff. We ran a lot of pilot football. I think they had 70 X and outs against Spain, and that was keeping Spain parts, posing offense off the field. So I think they pretty much accomplished exactly what they wanted to. And they are a much improved team. They got 2 guys at quarterback that can play. Both those cats that they roll in the quarterback are really, really good ball players. I tell you, they've done a tremendous job over there. That team's playing with a lot of confidence right now. And so it's going to be a big task. Our guys are going to be ready to play. I think it's going to be one heck of a high school football game. That's what you ask for Friday night. You want a heck of a football game, and I think that's what you're going to see from both teams.
Absolutely.
Coach Reggie here. Hear you talk about all the guys that you have on the defensive side of the ball. Having that much talent on your defense, does that make your job as a coach a lot easier?
I don't know. I don't look at. I don't look at it as having. We're fortunate we've got a lot of great players. We really do. But we coach them all the same. We're hammering fundamentals. We're hammering technique with every spot every week. Our coaches do an unbelievable job of really dialing in on our techniques and fundamentals in the back end of our footwork. Up front, we're most of the time on read front, so we really get after it. Our biggest thing about it is we want to be old school. We want to be violent and physical with everything that we do. That's what we preach to our guys. Our guys buy into it. And our guys love it. Love to be physical and dominant. And, that's the way we play. But we are fortunate. We've got some unbelievable talented young men. The biggest thing is, these guys playing together. Believing in each other, believing in the guy beside you. Making sure you take care of responsibility, not trying to do too much and take care of somebody else's job. Just make sure you do your job, do it to the best of your ability. and we feel like we'll be successful.
All right. Coach, I appreciate you coming on with us. Reggie and I is actually going to be at that game, so we're going to be there early, getting pictures and covering the game, and I will talk to you and see you Friday evening early.
You may not see me on the phone.
Reggie's a Gadsden City man. He's going to be on Gadsden City.
I'll be on the Gadsden City side.
I appreciate y'all having me on. I appreciate what y'all do for high school sports, promote these kids, get the word out there. I think it's really great for high school in our area.
Coach, I appreciate you, and we're definitely going to have you on this preview show many more times, and hopefully on the Etheridge show as well.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next game brings us on to the Piedmont Bulldogs, and they're going to be taking on Jacksville this week. They're coming off an unwanted off week. Kind of a bad situation for them. They had a Weaver backed out on them due to COVID. The problem with that is it was homecoming for them, and Coach Smith was going for his 250th win, so it was definitely an unwanted off week. But I'm sure Coach Smith and those guys put in some work and turned it into a positive.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, and there's no time to rest because you got, I believe they're 4-1. Yeah, they're 4-1. Yeah, 4-1 Jacksonville rolling into town. And I'm going to tell you, they don't have Ron Wiggins, but they still got a ton of athletes, and their only loss is to high-ranked 5A in Alexandria.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that play Alexandria this year is going to have losses, so,
Yeah,
so you can't really judge it off that. Now, now they did beat Munford 44-20 last week, which was a pretty impressive win for their part. They seem to be putting it together at the right time, but I mean, they're playing Piedmont this week, and it's at the Field of Champions. So, buddy, what do you expect out of this game?
I'll tell you what I expect out of Piedmont. Same thing they've been doing. I expect them to be almost perfect. No turnovers, very few penalties, if any. Firing off the ball, winning the line of scrimmage. This is what they do, man. So yeah, Jacksonville, they're a good team. They have a lot of athletes. I got to watch them play several times last year. Jacksonville is a very, very good football team. But I think Piedmont having that week off, Coach Smith and his coaching staff, he's going to have his guys ready. Okay, and they're just going to play Piedmont football, which is close to perfect as far as turnovers, penalties, and it's just the way they play.
Playing them at the Field of Champions too is never fun for a visiting team. They seem to elevate their game there, as if they needed to elevate their game that much more. But man, it's one of those things where if you're Coach Smith, you don't want to see that lag from an off week. You don't want that lethargic start, and that could spiral over into a bad half, which could spiral over into a bad game. And the next thing you know, they're in a second half or four-quarter game with Jacksonville. And no disrespect to Jacksonville, I'm just saying Piedmont, I know, wants to get in there and start sharp, and they want to execute often and early. If they can get Elijah going, and then they'll play action off of him and hit Estes and some of these guys out deep. That's what they're wanting to do. That's what they're going to do. So the last thing you want to do is start lethargic because you had an off week. It's definitely one you didn't want.
Right. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Piedmont, they're going to be hungry. They wanted to play homecoming. They wanted to play this game. But this is just something nobody's had to deal with. COVID-19, they're not the only team that's had games canceled. So, and I do think that these coaches have prepared for that. They kind of know that this was a possibility going into the season. So I don't think that they're going to go into the game flat at all. I think they'll go in ready to play Piedmont football.
I'm excited about it. Love the episode of Cribs we did with Steve Smith.
That was great.
That's pretty awesome. His hair is on point.
His hair is on point.
I think Coach Smith said it best when we interviewed him over the summer. He said, well, I did bet that I would grow a mullet if we won the state, so I kind of figured it was a win-win for me.
Man, it was word. Yeah.
He said it's kind of a win-win for me either way. So I asked him, I said, do you have any plans for getting an IROC Z28? Or?
He does need an IROC with some T-tops. That would be
a la Johnny Lawrence.
All right, yeah.
All right, we're going to shut this one down. Should be a good game. Jacksonville is a good, worthy opponent, and Piedmont will definitely, get better by playing an opponent like that for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, on to our next. All right, we are in-house today at Sparks Orthopedic Sports Medicine with the Southside Panthers, some of my favorite guys that we have on each week. They usually have a few characters each week, and been nothing but good times when they come on, so hopefully we can keep that trend going. I'm going to let these young men introduce themselves right now.
Cody Roberts,
Jason Garrett,
Connor Rowland,
So what positions do you guys play?
wide receiver,
safety.
left tackle.
All right. I like it. All right, so last week, I mean, you guys were going into the Arab game, and you knew it was going to be a pretty nip-and-tuck game. You end up losing that one, 28-27 is a tough loss. Take us back to last week a little bit. Any one of you guys can take that.
I just think, we played what we could play, and the first half was best, but, the second quarter we came back and we tried all we could do. You got to be in situations like that as the season goes on.
What was Coach's message to you guys right after that game?
just execute more. Just got to jump the gun earlier. We can't fall behind anymore.
Starting out hot. You guys started out very positive this year, and I think you guys are definitely can get back to that. But what do you think it's going to take? We'll let my man in the middle answer that. What do you think it's going to take to get you guys back, like playing like you were?
Get everybody healthy. Put in more work and practice.
Are y'all pretty banged up across the board right now?
We are.
Kind of secondary.
Yeah. Man, that's right.
We got our center, Dakota.
He broke his. Yeah. That's pretty rough if you're a center and you get broken ribs. He was on here last week, right? Yeah. That's Ethan's brother, right? And he's making fun of Ethan for gaining weight. He said Ethan's the MVP at the table or something like that. I can't remember this talking trash about each other. You guys got Sardis coming up this week. Any one of you guys can take this. Have y'all got to watch film on Sardis yet?
Not as a team.
Not as a team.
I will think some today.
What stuck out to you about Sardis?
You just never know if they're going to blitz or not. They kind of show it. They don't really show it that well, but they'll either play in a 4-man, 4-3, or they'll bring their sandbacker up and blitz, or they'll run a 5 front. It's kind of the same stuff as last year.
You guys are a little bit younger, so you probably don't remember when he was at Etowah. Used to be the coach there. They were really, really good, especially defensively. That's where like Jameson Wadley then played under him, but he was the defensive coordinator for Etowah all those years that they were so good in the 90s, and when Cadillac Williams and all those guys were there, he was basically the guy spearheading that defense. So what you're saying definitely rings the bell because I've watched him coach football since I was a child, and I'm an old. See all this gray up here, man? So what you're saying is very good. They're struggling a little bit right now record-wise, but he is one of those guys that can cook up a game plan, especially defensively, as good as just about any coach in North Alabama for sure. But let's don't talk about Sardis anymore. Let's talk about you guys, and I'm going to each one of you guys take this. When you get in situations like this, when you one of you guys told me that it was second time in Coach Nelson's career he's lost back-to-back games. Y'all tell me that. So each one of you guys answer this. What's it going to take, in your opinion, to get you guys flipped back around to that winning side and get rolling and get ready to go into the playoffs? Let each one of you guys answer that.
Just trust the game plan, execute, work.
I think the biggest thing is to get everybody healthy and the work at practice.
Practice is where a lot of this is going to pay off for sure. That's where you still know. I think those two things go hand in hand because if you're executing, clicking in practice, it's just going to translate over into the game. So I can see that.
I think just doing everything correct at practice and go full speed, because if you go half speed at practice, you're not going to go full speed in the game. So just going full speed at practice and trusting one another.
You guys as a whole, I think I know the answer to this. With Coach Nelson, I have a new sense of life. I mean, like to me, when I'm around him, and I'm in there hearing him talk and break down film, and I've watched him talk about stuff, and I've watched him break down film, I get fired up. Seriously. He's an energy guy, and to me, his energy is kind of, you feed off of it, right? I can feel that. Do you guys feel the same way about that?
Yes, sir.
I get that take from him for sure. Well, look, man, I don't want to talk you guys' heads off. You guys have already practiced. You're probably ready to get out of here. But I appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a pleasure. You guys are welcome back at any time. And good luck this weekend versus Sardis. On to our next. All right, our next game is going to bring us to the West End Patriots, coming off a big victory versus Gaston last week. We're looking at 55-20 in that one. We're going to dive into the Appalachian game coming up this week. But before we do that, I'm going to let these Patriots introduce themselves, starting with Coach.
Kyle Davis, football coach at West End.
Isaiah Robertson, Ashville.
All right, so Coach, last week they had the unfortunate news of Eli, and I was at that game, watched that game start to finish against Cleveland. You guys were rolling, moving really good, back and forth, and we knew that was probably going to be a shootout, and it was headed in that direction. And Eli went out, but the one thing about your squad, it seemed like they got shell-shocked for a minute, but then they started back. Once they got their head back on, they started back fighting. And then last week, I think that carried over and got you a big 30-point victory last week. Talk about your team's performance last week versus Gaston.
I mean, it was good. It was a good game for us. I mean, we needed it. You know, we'd come off a couple of, like I said, the Spring Garden game was a tough game, and we reeled from that one for sure. But, we felt good about Cleveland. We did. We came out fast against Cleveland, scored first, and things were going well. I thought we were playing good defensively. I thought offensively we had a good game plan that they weren't really prepared for. And then we had that unfortunate issue with Eli getting hurt. And, no one guy makes a team, but, leaders are leaders. And our guys, they respond the way Eli plays. And we did. I think we had a little air out of ourselves. And we kind of had to limp through that one, just through the injuries that we had behind him. With second and third string being out at quarterback. We were able to get third string guy back this week, Marty. Marty had a great game as a starting freshman first game. He threw 3 touchdowns and ran one in. It was just a good game for us to, kind of get our feet back up under us and let our guys just kind of enjoy playing again. And it was a regional win. That was a great thing for us. It puts us, right back where we want to be in the hunt to get in the playoffs. So it was just a good overall team win. Everybody got to play, and the guys were able to, I think, bounce back a little bit.
Execution-wise, when you guys went into that game last week, you knew you didn't have Eli, who was one of your big leaders, and each one of you guys can answer this. Talk about how it felt personally, like you knew you had a little bit of the load, you had a little bit more of the load you had to carry. We start right here.
It was, you knew we didn't have Eli, but we knew that Marty stepping up, he was giving us that we had faith in him.
He performed, didn't he? Same thing, the legendary Jeremiah Robinson's brother right here. Talk about your performance. You ran, I remember you to the horn in that Cleveland game was running the ball very hard. So talk about your performance against Gaston.
I had to step up and show leadership. I had to take a freshman quarterback and get a region win.
Coach, you technically was down to like a 14 guy in that Cleveland game.
Right. Yeah, Rocco Sansbury, who's ninth grade running back, he had taken some junior high snaps at quarterback, and that's what we were with that, because Marty, the guy that played last week, had a broke hand. We were lucky we got him cleared Monday to get the splint off, and never a hard cast or anything. But, these two guys here, they're both juniors. They'll both be back next year. It doesn't take a senior to lead. I was real proud of the way that they stepped up and played. Ashton always plays to the whistle, man. And like I said, Isaiah was, he was still carrying the ball when we were down big against Cleveland. He was carrying it hard. The biggest thing is like they both said, they knew Marty, freshman starter, line knew they had to protect him. I think Isaiah knew he was going to have to carry the load, in the run game to kind of take some pressure off of him. And both, as a unit, the offensive line did well and, blocked well for Isaiah, and he did his job. And like I said, as a team, I just really felt like it was what we needed, kind of take a deep breath and get that win. And, even though we're down some guys, I think we lost 5 starters for the year already, and we're halfway through the season. But you know what? We're 3-2. We're 3-2, and we got an opportunity to win out and make the playoffs.
Coach, this is 2020. It's not shocking.
You're right. No, that's true. That's true.
Now let me ask you guys this: what have y'all seen on Appalachian? I know you've watched film. I don't know if you broke film down with these guys yet, but what have you guys seen on Appalachian?
They're very athletic.
They look very good.
Yeah, they're athletic. They look good against Coosa. We did break some film down with them as far as we used to do defensive film on Monday and offensive film on Tuesday, and kind of showed them their formations. Again, 6 guys down, so personnel-wise, we had to make some changes to get some different people in some different positions.
Plug and play.
Yeah, and because don't nobody feel sorry for you, and they're not going to stop, and we can't stop either, and so that's kind of what we're going to do. but we took the day to watch them. Coosa Appalachian looked really good against Coosa. They got some really good skilled players. They got some big guys on offensive line and defensive line. It's going to take a good game for us to win.
100%. You two guys going into this game, having that victory on your region, not just a victory, but a region win. How much more is your confidence knowing, hey, we did this without Eli. We've got to do this the rest of the season without Eli moving forward. Both you guys answer that.
It definitely gave us a little boost of confidence. I think got our momentum rolling, and I think with Marty getting him some experience under his belt, just keep doing.
Which to me, and Coach, you said this best. You're gonna find out what kind of coach you are, and these guys stepping up and their roles and taking on a little bit of shouldering load. They're helping you with that process right now. Same question to you.
I think it helped build our chemistry and helped us learn each other's strengths and weaknesses and things. Helped us move forward.
I think so too, man. But you guys got to keep it rolling because, like you said, you're still 3-2. Everything's still in front of you.
Right.
There's nothing you haven't not accomplished or let slide by yet. So, like you said, there's no time to get your head down.
Right.
Would you expect anything else out of 2020 though, Coach?
Oh yeah, no, not at all. I mean, obviously, and it just. I told somebody, we feel like that the priest on Caddyshack, surely the good Lord wouldn't interrupt the greatest game of my life, and there it is, the lightning strike. So, I mean,
please don't say that on the field.
That's right. And we have gotten to where we don't say it can't get worse because it obviously can. But you know what though? I mean, and I told the kids today, and I try every time when we get like this because adversity is going to come. I told them today, we've still got to have the mentality of we're playing to win. We as coaches, we're sitting there and we're saying, okay, we got to move this guy here, move that guy there. It's not a panic thing. It's more like a all chips in. We're going all in thing, And if we're playing with 14 guys, and we're playing with 14 guys, that's just kind of what's going on right now.
I loved it. I talked to Coach immediately before we shut this one down. I got to tell this story. I talked to Coach immediately after the game. He's like, "Hey, if I got to line up and throw it 65 times a game, I've done it before. I'll do it again. Whatever it takes to win. Whatever it takes to win." That's what I like about this group, man. No excuses. Keep moving forward. Hey, we're going to go with what we got, plug and play, whatever we got to do to win the football game. I love it, Coach. I think that's part of that positive gossip phase 2. We're in the middle of phase 2 right now. So, Coach, you guys got anything else?
I always appreciate you having us, man. This is a great thing that you do for the kids.
I appreciate you guys coming by and bringing the fam. That's a really warm feeling to see the fam here. So we're definitely going to be posting pictures of the family. Thank you guys so much, Coach.